You're listening to the TEPIS Paranormal Talking Point podcast, a show that discusses various aspects of the paranormal world, with paranormal news, ghost stories, interviews, and much more. And without further ado, let's get into some talking points. Hi guys, Scott here from TEPIS Paranormal, and welcome back to another episode of the TEPIS Paranormal Talking Point podcast. So today is a little bit different to the usual Talking Point podcasts because this is a video podcast. So if you're listening to this over on any of the audio platforms, you can go and watch the video version over on the YouTube channel. Watching the video version doesn't add anything, it's just you can see both mine and my guests' interactions a little bit, clearer. So today I've invited on DudeyRhino. As you know, Jordan and I have been to a number of paranormal locations together. We've collaborated in the past, and generally I thought it would be fun to sit down with Jordan and talk through a number of paranormal questions, learn a little bit more about his thoughts on the paranormal, and generally just get to know him a little bit better in terms of the paranormal. So without any further ado, I'm going to jump straight into the interview. So cheers for joining me, Jordan.
No problem.
So, first thing I want to talk about is obviously your channel took a bit of a turn, changing away from festival content and going towards a much more sort of paranormal and, conspiracy, true crime type vibe. What sort of things do you think led you down that route?
So, there's a few things. Originally, I was actually, if you go back to, I think it's March 2020 when I did the change, that month I did 3 videos on it was a tier list for meal deals. I then did 3 videos on infomercials, like cheesy infomercials like the slap chop and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did 3 ghost videos. And my idea then was I'm gonna just dedicate each week to a completely random topic, but do 3 consequential videos on it, which I think, looking back, is a shit idea. Like, it's terrible, right? But when I did the 3 ghost videos, it really struck a chord. Like, I hate to admit it, but the views were good. And then I thought to myself, you love horror films, you love paranormal shows, you love true crime documentaries. Why not? Plus, I'd done, I'd done ghost stories with Jack, mate. I'd done the conspiracy and true crime videos with Lozzie. And so I thought, I've done it in the past, clearly have a love for it. So I thought, fuck it, it's done well this week. So I'll just give it a go. And then I just went ham for the whole of 2020. With that kind of content, and it just did really, really super well, and I was absolutely loving it because it wasn't just making videos like what's the latest trend, what'll get views. It was, I'm doing what I'm passionate about, a topic that I'm really passionate about, and it happens to be doing well for me as well, so it's kind of like a blessing, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's that. It came out of me doing videos on bloody infomercials and slap chops and shit. But fortunately, I found it. Thank God.
Cool. So that leads on quite nicely to the next question I've got, which is, what's your earliest sort of memory of the paranormal in terms of, seeing it on TV or hearing stories from people?
I would say, I can't tell you how old I was. I was a child. And for some reason, I think I was definitely with my mum, I think a couple of my cousins and maybe my uncle or something. And they put on Sixth Sense, which is obviously about a boy who can see the dead and stuff like that. And I mean, back then, that film messed me up for a little bit because it was so scary. But that is my earliest memory of the paranormal. Is seeing this movie about a kid that can see ghosts.
Yeah, I mean that is quite an impactful movie as well.
It is.
There's the big twist in that movie, which I think sticks with a lot of people.
Absolutely, and it kind of yeah, I think there's a scene where the kid goes into a tent, like a play
Hmm.
tent, and there's a little girl in there, but the good little girl is of course dead, and it's just very scary. Yeah, I must have been about 8, 7 or 8, and like, why on earth I was watching Sixth Sense at that age?
Yeah,
It's
it's
ridiculous.
there's a reason that stuck with you. I think at that age.
Absolutely, absolutely. But yeah, that is my earliest
Hmm.
memory, I'd say, of the
Cool.
paranormal.
So then, I suppose into the ghost hunting side of things, with most haunted, ghost hunters, ghost adventures, things like that. Do you have
Yeah.
any idea what your sort of first one of those would have been?
It was Most Haunted,
That was the
and
big one over here.
weirdly, right? Because obviously that would be on TV, and
Hmm.
it'd be on TV during the day. But even through my teenage years, right, I would be too scared to put it on.
Yeah,
Which when you think about like what we do now, that's insane.
that is,
I was
yeah,
too afraid to watch a ghost show that couldn't have been that bad because it was on at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
yeah. I
And
mean,
yet, I just could not bring myself to put it on.
no, I know the feeling. Most haunted. It was one of those weird ones where nothing happened, but they built a lot of suspense really well,
Yes.
and it's like watching it. You know something's going to happen at some point,
Yeah.
and you never know when it is. Yeah, I
And
think
that is what gets you.
yeah, and I think Most Haunted is definitely a good show to start. I think a lot of people in the UK, obviously, because that is realistically that's our big ghost hunting show.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
I think that's the one that really, I think that sort of started the ghost hunting trend worldwide in terms of TV as well.
Did that supersede?
So that was before
Not
Zach
supersede
Bagans and that.
before. Yeah, before Zach Bagans.
I think
Really?
Ghost Hunters was a thing in America for a while around the same time. But
Right.
yeah, Ghost Adventures I don't think started till 2008 ish.
Wow, that's crazy.
Which
Yvette was the original. She's the
she was,
OG.
yeah, Yvette and Derek, the dream team.
Yeah. One
So,
day we'll contact Derek. One
oh,
day.
that is the plan. So that leads on, I suppose, to do you have any sort of stories from friends or family?
um, do I have? So a family friend told me maybe a year or year and a half ago is when I was told this story. I think it happened maybe a year prior to me being told.
Hmm.
Um, that basically and I'm paraphrasing here, but he lost his, I want to say, grandfather, and it was very very close to the birth of one of his children, and I'm talking like maybe days, maybe even the night before, something like that. And basically a few months passed, and he got up in the middle of the night to go and tend to his child who was in the cot, and looked down the corridor to the child's room
Hmm.
and claims that he saw his grandfather like sort
Yeah.
of bent over the cot looking at the baby, and then he like ran to wake his partner up, and when he went back, the apparition was gone. And this guy, I trust, and it would have no reason to bullshit
Yeah.
me. And so yeah, that's quite something.
Yeah, I mean,
And
that seems to be quite a common occurrence in terms of, past family members, grandparents, etc., interacting with new children. You
yes,
tend to
yeah,
hear quite a lot.
absolutely.
You hear quite a lot of stories of like, a child starts telling you a very specific story about
Mhm.
a family member they could never have met, or
Yeah,
describing someone perfectly, and that again, that's really weird that it's quite a common thing.
yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you say, there tends to be a connection between like recently past family members,
Hmm.
specifically in a parental role,
Yeah.
and newborns.
Yeah.
Because it was a very, very, I think it may have been his first child, and it was a very worrying time, sort of thing.
Mhm.
You could not worry, but apprehensive. You don't know, you've never been a parent before, like what the,
Yeah.
you don't know what the fuck you're doing, and to have someone like that, um, reappear. But he said like I wasn't panicked at all because I knew that it was him.
Yeah. It's one of those. It's quite reassuring almost, I suppose.
Yes, yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
Okay. So obviously, over the years now, you've visited quite a few haunted buildings, abandoned
I
and
have.
otherwise. Um,
Yes.
do you think younger you would have expected that?
No. Younger me would be like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Because I used to look at these people that would go to these haunted places and just think, "Why the fuck would you put yourself in that situation?"
Hmm.
And I can't even answer why I do it now, to be honest. I guess it's just a genuine intrigue into that side of things.
Yeah.
But I could never ever anticipate this
Yeah.
at all. Not even from like a YouTube perspective or anything like that. Just from a like a me perspective as a person, you know.
Yeah, it's one of those. I
Absolutely
mean,
not.
especially when you look at some of the buildings, I think that you've been to now. Obviously,
Yeah.
we went to the
Yeah.
Ram Inn and East Drive, which are
Yeah.
two of the most haunted buildings in the country.
Definitely.
Which is very
Yeah.
much a thing that leading up to that, I don't think it's not something I'd have seen myself doing. Again, purely because of the level of the buildings as well.
Yeah. And like, yeah, that's very true when you say the level. I know what you mean. Because I remember when we walked into the ancient ramen, me and you both said like it was almost like being fucking starstruck,
Hmm.
but by a building.
Yeah.
But I remember I can't remember when the Facebook video of Carol in 30 East Drive came out, but I remember thinking when I watched it, "Fuck that." And then a few years later, I find myself by myself sat in one of the rooms of that building in the pitch
The
dark.
best part of that was you didn't actually
Like,
know it was that building until we were already locked inside.
yeah,
There's a
yeah,
bit
no, I
in
didn't.
in the
I
in the
didn't have a
video
clue.
of that when we're at the bottom of
Yeah,
the stairs. You realise,
yeah. I'm like, oh my god, is that here? And then, oh my god, was that Carol? That was her in the video. And
yeah,
then because although it didn't make it onto the video, but we met Carol beforehand, and she
yes,
showed us round. Although we did have some audio, didn't we, for the video of
hmm,
about the motorbike incident and stuff like that. But yeah, so that was crazy. But no, I definitely could not anticipate this at all. Like I said, I guess that's why it's even more odd, because even as like I'm talking like 14,
hmm,
15, would not put Most Haunted on.
yeah. I mean, it
And so
is.
to go from not putting a show on to producing my own
Yeah,
is
it's quite a change.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
So,
crazy.
out of all of the places you've been so far, which would you say is your favourite in terms of just presence or generally things you've heard about it and things you experienced yourself?
It's the ancient Ramin. That building is evil.
Yeah,
That building is sentient. That
absolutely.
building is its own thing. Like, I've never experienced, you know, as a 28-year-old man who on Brazilian Jiu Jitsu goes to the gym, thinks he could handle himself. I would not have gone back in that building after the mirror bit if you'd have by myself if you'd paid me.
Yeah,
And to feel that just by a building is insanity.
yeah.
It was very humbling to be like fucking hell, but at the same time, weirdly, and loads of people have said this. You see it in so many videos that have done
Hmm.
the ancient ram in. Have to go
You're
back.
drawn back to
There's
it. Yeah,
so many people. Yeah, it's so fucking weird. And yet in that moment, absolutely not.
Yeah, no.
But I can't wait to a point where I kind of want. I know, like now we're sort of like not taking a hiatus, but just from bookings,
Yeah.
everything's booked up, isn't it?
I
Everything's
mean,
booked up.
it's
So
the fallout of Halloween at the minute, which yeah.
yes, we're looking at early 2023, unfortunately. But I kind of want to be back at the Ancient Ram Inn no later than February,
Hmm.
really.
Yeah,
So
I think that's
yeah,
reasonable. It is like you say, I find myself regularly sort of just thinking about things that happened when we were there, and thinking
yeah,
about what we could do, differently, or what we could do to try and draw things out almost.
yeah, and absolutely. And I feel like even though we've only done a few things since,
Hmm.
we've learned so much.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it will
we've
be,
definitely improved since then.
yeah, and there'll be certain things that I want to test. Like I still, obviously, the mirror what got wiped off was strange. Not that wasn't the only strange thing with that mirror. With my black and white, with my night
Yeah,
vision camera, every time the camera panned past that mirror, it
yeah,
would like glitch out every time, and on different um times throughout the night, and a bit that didn't make it into the video when I think it's when me and you were in the attic
hmm,
and Bailey's outside having a cigarette or something. And he has the night vision camera. He's outside the building, but the other side of the wall is the mirror. He's stood outside. And as he pans past the fucking wall of which the mirror is the other side, it glitches again.
yeah. That
Specifically when it's pointed at that mirror.
you showed me
Like,
that bit, and it is weird.
it's just bizarre. So we go back. I want um a camera on that mirror
Hmm.
at all times. And also, Ian Meyer bought the other day, purely just so I can spy on the cats. It's really funny. An indoor security camera. It's in the living room.
Yeah,
It's like 30 quid from Curry's. It's called Tapo or something. Anyway, you get it to your app. All you need is Wi-Fi and a plug socket. And you've got 360 degrees. You can turn it and everything, and you've got a live feed to your phone.
brilliant.
So if or we could even hotspot off of a phone, so we can now take that with us and have that set up in a room, and we have a 24/7 live feed to a room. So that's
Yeah,
cool.
that will be good. I mean, again,
Um,
like you say, the
to be fair, they're
mirror.
only 30 quid, so we could get a few more.
Okay, that's
But
not a
yeah,
bad
so
idea.
that's really cool.
Hmm.
Um,
So I mean,
that's it. Yeah, but we
my
need
next
something on that
question,
mirror.
yeah, my next question was going to be what was the creepiest event you've experienced, but I think you probably just covered that with the mirror.
Yes, yes, you're absolutely right. So I'll give you a close second as well. But the mirror, still says that I don't give a fuck. I'll
No.
die on the fucking hill. I will die on this hill that what we experienced was paranormal
Yeah.
because you can't fucking explain it.
Yeah.
You
No.
cannot explain it. The only ways you can explain it are there was someone else in the building. We know there wasn't. It was one of us. We know it wasn't. So I don't give a fuck if we
There
convince
is
people or
no.
not.
Yeah.
The four of us experienced that, and the four of us will forever know that there was something written on that. Well, not even something. The word demon was written on that fucking mirror, and then a few minutes later,
It wasn't.
it was wiped off.
Yeah.
It was wiped off. That's fucking horrifying.
Hmm.
That's horrendous,
That's
and
something physically interacting.
as a physical interaction,
And
that's
see,
that's
the thing that crossed my mind sort of afterwards is if it can do that to a mirror, what's stopping it from
it can
physically
touch us.
interacting with us? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
If it can wipe, and this sounds ridiculous. If you could take your hand and you can wipe, if you have nails or claws,
Hmm.
you can scratch.
Yeah.
Surely.
It's
So
the same
yeah,
motion.
very
Yeah.
very
So
interesting. Absolutely, absolutely. So
yeah.
very very interesting. I'd say a close second um, is when me, Mara, and Bailey went to the abandoned asylum,
Hmm.
and this wasn't caught on camera because we were exiting the building, and I wouldn't want to drop my camera. Um, did a Ouija. We went around the building for an hour and a half, dead silent. Did a Ouija board. It counted down. All very horrible. All very weird. And then we decided if this the feeling was just off after that,
Mhm.
and so we were like, let's get the fuck out of here. So we went to vacate the building. It's an abandoned building, so the ways in and out aren't exactly ideal. It was a window that you had to climb up onto a radiator to get to the window frame. But the window, you had like some jagged glass in the corner and stuff. So you had to be very careful. So, i.e., I wasn't going to fucking carry a camera
Yeah,
out
no.
filming myself. Anyway, Maya goes out first. As Maya is climbing out of the window, we just hear fucking bangs, slams, creaks, all sorts of shit in a building we've just been in for an hour and a half that was so silent you could hear a pin drop.
Mhm.
And as we're leaving the building after doing a dodgy Ouija board, hearing all sorts of shit. I don't want to alarm anyone because I don't want Maya to like cut herself on the window or anything.
Yeah.
And but Bailey's hearing it as well. And I just make eye contact with Bailey. We don't say a word, and we're just looking at each other, and we're giving each other the look of just like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
And
I
that
mean,
was that was horrible.
like you say,
That was
because you'd been
horrible.
in there for so long with nothing, to suddenly
Exactly.
have things
Exactly.
happen.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just
Yeah,
like, oh my
that would
fucking
be
god.
that would be horrible. Especially because
Mm,
again, like you say, that's the only way out.
very bad.
So if
Yes.
something
Very,
were
very
to
bad.
say rush up behind you at that point,
Oh yeah.
you've still
Yeah.
got to leave.
Yeah. That's the worst thing about the abandoned places.
Hmm.
Like and looking back, it's why I started inviting Bailey. In all honesty, is when me and Maya were doing it, it was fucking stupid to be honest, because you don't know who's in there.
Yeah.
I'm not saying like a ghost or anything. I'm
No,
saying
no,
about fucking homeless
a
people off their
vagrant.
nut on drugs or whatever,
Yeah, who decides he likes to
and
look at your camera.
or or not necessarily on drugs, just a fucking a squatter or someone thinks we're police and don't want to get fucking
Hmm.
arrested or caught or whatever. Anyway, so I, when me and Maya went to the RAF base the first time,
Hmm.
we had to shimmy through fucking. It was like a letterbox. It was high up, and it was just a mirror that had got a mirror, a window that had been
Yeah.
put through. The worst thing was, the further in we went and the further in we got, I just thought, if this goes wrong, we've got to sprint across an abandoned, decrepit, decaying building, go into a room, to then climb up,
Yeah.
to then like push your feet first out and drop about 8 feet down onto the. It was just stupid. Fortunately, when we went back with Bailey, someone had put the massive double bay window at the front through, so
See,
we just
that's
like
yeah, that's
popped in.
much nicer.
It was yeah, in the original video, in the RAF video, just after we've seen the blood, when we go in, we pan left and we see the
Hmm.
piano in that
Yeah.
room. If you look at the bay window behind the piano, that was the window that was put through when we went back through. Yeah, it was just so silly looking back, because if anyone was in there, oh man, I think it would have been a very bad time. And
Yeah.
then obviously when we went back to the RAF base with Bailey, there was the curtain that moved weird in the
Hmm.
in the intro. Yeah, that it's it's abandoned buildings are just
Yeah,
dangerous,
it's
very,
a
very
different type of
dangerous.
it's a different type of fear, I think,
Yes,
because
absolutely,
like you
and
say,
also a
there could
different
just
type
be
of
someone
video
there.
because yeah, and also because of squatters, homeless people, security, police, all sorts of stuff. Although it's not a crime that you can be arrested for. It's just like a civil crime, so they
Hmm.
kind of like
They
don't
move
do
you
that.
along.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah. You're not in a rush, but you are. It's just different.
you're on
Like when we
edge.
went to Ancient Ram Inn, yeah, when we went to Ancient Ram Inn, we had a fucking base of operation. It was sick. We had charges. We could, go there. We could rest. We could go back. We could, take
Yeah.
our time. Whereas you're in, you need to get the content, get things filmed, and then get out
Hmm.
safely, kind of thing.
Cool.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah,
So the next question I've got is a bit more open ended. It's something I'm not convinced you're actually going to be able to answer definitively.
fine. Okay.
Um, what do you think a ghost is?
I have a few. I have theories. I don't
Hmm.
have an answer.
Yeah.
I love the stone tape theory. Is
Yeah.
it? I love the idea of essentially like high emotion or traumatic events leave scarring.
Hmm.
I also really like the idea of um, just being different planes of existence that we can't see all the
Yeah.
time. Like you can't see oxygen, but it's there. And perhaps these things just it's just like a break in the fabric of our plane
Hmm.
to theirs, and it just slips through. I saw actually, this is the first time even discussing this. I saw a short the other day. Guy was on a podcast. I think he was a physicist. I don't know, he probably wasn't a physicist. Maybe he was, but he was saying how there's this theory that all of time is happening at the same time, and it's not a linear line, it's stacked on top of each
Hmm.
other. So everything is happening right now all the time. There is no past, there is no future, because everything is happening right now. And if everything is stacked on top of each other, and much like time slips,
Yeah.
there's been documented, well, only anecdotal, but documented accounts of people slipping through time and then slipping back. If everything's stacked on top of each other rather than in a line, then in theory, stacks can blur into each other.
Yeah.
Perhaps that is what a ghost
It's
is.
bleed as opposed to literally jumping from one time to another. Yeah.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Yeah. But then there's also the Exorcist guy that I tried to get in contact
Hmm.
with, like the top exorcist in the US. He said that no place is haunted.
Hmm.
However, the act of seeking the dead and the act of trying to contact the other side is inherently evil and a sin, and therefore evil manifests.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
so so you're essentially doing a ritual
To
by
summon.
seeking them, by
Yeah.
by calling out. So you summon the demons, the ghosts, the spirits in an unholy ritual, which is quite
Hmm.
interesting.
I mean that. Yeah,
Um,
that does make weirdly that makes some sense.
it does, yeah, it does.
There is logic
So
to it.
I find those three at the moment
Hmm.
very, very interesting theories and food for thought.
Yep.
Especially just because I've just recently heard about the whole like time stacking thing,
Hmm.
which is really cool.
Cool. Okay. So, what is one? So, obviously, in the course of investigating, you're going to experience things.
Yeah.
What's one paranormal event that you want to experience more than anything else?
I want to see a manifestation. I want to see either a shadow figure or just a full on apparition.
What?
I think we've got close with the
Hmm.
mirror.
Yeah,
We have witnessed um
we've witnessed interaction, intelligent interaction.
we've witnessed interaction. I want to witness actual
How
entity.
do you
I
think
want to
you'd
see something.
react to that?
No idea. One of two ways. I'd either shit myself and call it a day, or I would flick into a mindset of I have an opportunity
Yeah.
to to try and communicate, but I feel like the idea of me sticking to a mind state where there's a ghost in front of me and I try to approach and
Hmm.
communicate is probably about 1 to 2% chance, and 98% chance I will shit myself and run in the other direction.
Yeah, I think. See, I'm concerned. There's a good chance I'm just going to freeze if that ever happens.
Yeah.
It's that's the third option is there's either run away or sort of confront it, and I'm just going to do neither and just like break down on the spot.
Yeah.
That feels like my
Yeah.
likely option.
Yeah. It's one of those,
Hmm.
you just have no idea until you're
Yeah.
presented.
Okay. So, in terms of historic paranormal cases, famous ones like the real life Conjuring House, the
Yeah.
Annabelle doll, the Enfield
Yeah.
haunting, etc. Are there any of those that really interest you? Standouts there.
The Enfield one really does because of, the tapes and things
Hmm.
like that. I remember I was editing a video. I can't remember what the video was because I don't think I've done a video specifically on the Enfield. I think I did a video on like some sort of like disturbing audio or something. Anyway, I had the pleasure of editing the Enfield tapes, and it was just horrific.
Hmm.
Hearing her voice and the speaking in different languages and speaking to different demons, and Hitler is in there.
Yeah.
It was just horrifying. And I would love to do Enfield, but someone just lives there, don't they?
Yeah, they
They
very much have said it's not an active location anymore. Nothing happens there,
yeah, and
and
so
it's not open to the public. And it's like, I sort
yeah,
of get it, but at the same time, it's one
yeah,
of the most famous paranormal locations in the world.
they are. I mean, East Drive, 300 quid a night. You're missing out on some revenue, is all
Yeah,
I'll
I mean,
say.
if I owned a haunted house, I would be making absolute stacks.
Yeah, absolutely. These places do. These
Yeah.
places do. But yeah, Enfield would be amazing, but obviously can't really. I would love to go to the Winchester Mansion
Mm-hmm.
in California.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I'd probably say the Winchester thingy. And also, isn't it in Transylvania? There is Dracula's. I know Dracula wasn't real, but Vlad the
Yeah.
Impaler was. But
Dracula's Castle
there,
is a thing.
yeah, in Transylvania,
I think so, yeah.
isn't there? Yeah, I would love to. I mean, it's a castle, so how fucking
I
cool
mean,
would that be?
yeah,
But
castles would be incredible.
yeah, so I think something like that
Mm-hmm.
would be really cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So in terms of obviously conducting a paranormal investigation, what would you say is your favourite method to, do on an investigation?
At the moment, just nothing tops the Estes method
Mm-hmm.
for me. I just love it. Like, it's just really creepy, And like, even if you look at it from not a paranormal of view,
Yeah.
just having a fucking conversation with someone that cannot hear you is so weird. And like, if it's like multiple things in a row, like the chances of that are a joke. So yeah, that is something that I'm really enjoying. But I saw something recently in a video that I reacted to, where you go into well, not necessarily a wardrobe or anything, but you go into a room that you believe to be haunted, and you light a match,
Mm-hmm.
and then you ask a question, and then if there is something there, then it should blow the match out, which just like aesthetically on camera looks really cool.
Yeah, that is
Also, if
something.
you imagine being in a room that's only lit by one match, and then it gets blown out. So
Yeah, I mean, that's
I think
something
that's
that
something that we'll try
we
as
have to.
well.
Yeah,
So
that sounds great.
yeah, yeah.
Horrible, especially if it gets blown out.
Yes, that's most of these things though. Like, all these
Yeah,
techniques that you try, it's like, yeah, they sound great, they look great. If they actually work, that's fucking horrible
yeah,
because it's just a scary thing,
that is
isn't it?
true. So, in terms of non-ghost related paranormal interests, so things like cryptids or demons, things like that,
Yeah.
would you say which of those do you think really draw you in?
I do like both, but the demons, I would say,
Mm-hmm.
just because I don't know, like obviously demons are so intrinsically linked to religion, but at the same time, I don't see why they have to be,
No.
because religion could just be people from thousands of years ago trying to make sense of what is in front of them. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you look at if you look at the actual depictions of a angel, the Bible, that is the closest thing to like a UFO alien I've ever
Yeah.
heard, just with like thousands of eyes, and on fire. But yeah, I think demons would be
Mm-hmm. I
quite
think,
something. Don't get me wrong, cryptids are sick.
yeah.
Cryptids are essentially animals that haven't been registered,
Mm-hmm.
whereas demons would be like, that's, first of all, that's essentially proof of different dimensions, etc.,
Yeah.
different planes of existence, higher beings or lower beings, whatever you want to call them,
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. So I just feel like there's more to demons than perhaps cryptids.
Yeah, I think, like you said, I think cryptids are very much just animals that we have either not discovered or that we've discovered and lost through the years that are
Yeah,
being rediscovered.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
cool. So, on to the last question now.
Mm.
What do you think's next for you in terms of the paranormal?
I mean, I say long term. I don't know how long term it would have to be, but I would love for us to get a show
Hmm?
on like Discovery Plus or Netflix or Prime or whatever. And that might sound ridiculous to some people. Uh, I'm not here to slate anyone or anything. I've seen some shows, and I just think we can do that so much better,
Yeah,
and we are on YouTube.
yeah.
So if fucking Discovery Plus comes along and gives me a budget, fuck me. No,
I mean,
that's what I think. So yeah,
I think it's definitely
TV.
achievable because you look at Destination Fear, for example. That
Yeah,
started as their host's sort of, project where he was trying to film a documentary. I think on his YouTube channel, and then that branched out
yeah,
into obviously a hit paranormal show.
yeah.
I think obviously the big difference is that's in
Absolutely.
America where every other building's abandoned and haunted, apparently.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. I tell you where I'd love to go for
Hmm.
some abandoned buildings is the Middle East,
Yeah.
because those that you see on Nuke's Top 5, like the dudes in the Middle East that go to these fucking locations and chase specifically jinns.
Hmm.
They it's crazy. Like
Yeah.
so I would
I
love
mean, some of the buildings
to.
are massive there as well.
Yes, yeah, yeah,
And yeah,
yeah. That would definitely be. I'd love to do a little tour of places,
I
but
think
I
various
also
countries would
think,
be good for tours.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I also think trying to formulate something, but obviously I did Halloween this year.
Hmm.
I can plan it. I think maybe I'll do something. I don't know what yet, but something at each location that we go to
Yeah.
on something, and then hold on to that. And then when Halloween comes, hopefully we'd have been to sit 5 to 7 locations,
And have something from each
and have something from
highly haunted
each.
location. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be really
That's a good
cool.
idea.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
So I think that's all the
yeah.
questions I had. But
Okay.
yeah, anything else you want to add in terms of, paranormal at the end there?
No, I'm just really out of everything that I do on my channel, the
Hmm.
thing that my top like thing that I love the most is when we do the paranormal investigation. So I'm just really looking forward to the next one,
Yeah.
and I want can't remember off the top of my head how many we hit this year, but I want to definitely do more
Hmm.
next year.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, thanks for joining me, and I think that's where I'll
Thanks for
end
having
this
me.
here. But yeah, cool.
Okay.
So there we go. That was my interview with DudeyRhino. Thanks, Jordan, for joining me for that. If you have any questions you want me to ask future guests, let me know in the comments down below and I'll make a note of them. If there's anything you want me to ask Jordan specifically, put them in the comments down below and I'll see if I can get a response and get back to you. If there's anybody else you think that I should try and speak to about this sort of video, about this sort of podcast, where I interview people and just generally get their views on the paranormal, let me know as well. I'm going to try and get hold of Maya, Bailey, and Lozzie and see if I can do a similar sort of interview with them. But for now, that's going to bring us to the end of this episode of the TEPIS Paranormal Talking Point podcast. I've been Scott from TEPIS Paranormal. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in the next episode.